Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark. Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Hey, thanks for stopping in. Those of you that do choose to stop in. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this weekly news update, things that have caught my eye throughout the week. I want to start off, notice maybe just a little bit. Quality is a little better. And studio is laid out a little different. Got the mic at a different angle. And I've got a new... I don't even know how to describe it other than to say that someone was very, very, very kind to TC this week. And that is where I'm broadcasting from, is the new system, an upgrade to my equipment. So anyway, hi Judson. As you can see, we've got this nice shelf here for the display of my product. And I got some new product if you haven't noticed yet. Got some new product here. Got a nice little keychain. Got this really nice slate coaster for your end table or your coffee table. If you're interested in any of my stuff, you can message me on Facebook, TC Pearson, or you can send me an email at tcpearson@protonmail.com. I'm gonna also plug the 22-0 challenge that we've got going on right now here with myself and Juan from Right America Media, and Kim, who he and his wife make my products. If I raise $100, they're going to each match it, which means $300. So if you'd like coffee, if you'd like some merchandise, even something small, they'll match that. So please get a hold of me, order something, order some merch, order some coffee, so that we can help the vets that are not being helped by the VA, not being helped by the federal government that has put them in harm's way. So I want to start off by making a correction to a story I did last week. Last week I said that the Minnesota's first congressional district met. They did not. It was at the state level. It was a congressional district that had some hoopla. A guy was booed off stage for saying some things that people didn't want to hear, and they were legitimately things that no one wanted to hear. And hey, Tomsky, you're interrupting my news stream. No, I'm kidding. That's what this is all about. This is just supposed to be kind of serious but relaxing at the same time. This guy was booed off. There was a runoff. The guy that for one of the House seats, the guy who was apparently in the lead, was kept flapping his mouth and ended up talking himself out of the lead and into a primary runoff. So we're really hoping that goes well for the gal that's challenging him. Tomsky says, "Okay, bye then, buddy." No, don't you dare. You what did you call yourself the other day in our chat? You're my live chat. No, I won't use that word here. And then I also want to update a story that I also covered last week. And while you guys are at it, please subscribe if you haven't. Obviously, some of you have, clearly. Hit the like button, the share button, and hit the notification icon so that you see these when they pop up. I covered last week the story about Minnesota's Commissar Walz of the People's State of Marxisota, and he issued yet again another executive order for yet again another virus, but this time it's the bird flu, and he's going to protect bird lives. Bird Lives Matter. Make sure you hashtag that and put a square up on, what's a good day for Bird Lives Matter? My Roman Catholic friends eat fish on Friday, so I think Friday we're going to put up a Bird Lives Matter block on our social media, right? A day no birds would die. And he's issued an edict at the suggestion from the Minnesota Department of Animal Health. Mhm. Yeah. He's issued this edict saying that there will be no sales or trading of birds and no fairs or anything where poultry will be shown, not just chickens, not just turkeys, but any kind of poultry, because of this massive sweep of this horrible avian flu that's running around, and it's allegedly not dangerous to people yet. But once people figure out what's going on over in the Ukraine and how the United States oligarchs are responsible for that, they probably will find a way to terrify us into thinking that we can be susceptible to whatever is killing the birds besides the government. So I talked about that story and raised some questions like, okay, so wait a minute. So now, like, I can't go buy a chicken from a neighbor or trade chickens with neighbors or anything because that might spread this. And so I can't raise my own food. And this is going to slow down egg production for people who sell eggs. This is going to slow down meat production for people who are trying to sell chickens at farmers markets and whatnot. But yet I can still go to the store and buy chicken. But if you're anywhere, especially in the upper Midwest, you're finding out that we're having a hard time tracking but tracking down chicken. You get like chicken, which is like, it's like one of the, like it's a staple for me. I eat a ton of chicken a week. Like sometimes I feel like I eat a ton of chicken. So not only are egg supplies dropping, they're depleting. Chicken is getting harder and harder to find in the stores. Now they're taking away the ability for the self-sufficient farmer, the self-sufficient homesteader to trade and barter chicken. I don't. You there again? You'll have to color me shocked. I don't say there is a conspiracy, but right after our president announces that there's going to be massive food shortages in the United States in 2022 because of the sanctions that are being placed on Russia, now all of a sudden we're also being told we can't sell chickens in Minnesota or turkeys or guinea birds or anything like that. So really, but I had a friend, one of my, I call her one of my field researchers, went out, and I'm not going to share because I want to protect her anonymity. I want to make sure she can remain my undercover person. She's not from Minnesota, but she did some calling, and she sent me some messages on Facebook. And if it looks like I'm reading this off of Facebook, it's because I'm literally reading this off of Facebook. She said, "Holy Mother of Government, I got curious if person-to-person poultry sales are covered by the ban because a news release put out is really unclear." Imagine that, a news release by a state agency is unclear. When they want propaganda out there, they can make it clear. But boy, when they want to tell you what you're supposed to do, they confuse the hell out of it if they can. I went to the Board of Animal Health website and read the actual thing they put out. It's confusing. Called the number, pressed 3 for questions, led me to a deadline, called and pressed 1 for report a dead bird. Like this is so serious. They want you to report a dead bird, but then you get automated to do that, right? So called and pressed 1 for report of a dead bird. Guy answered and acted like it would require a declaration from Biden himself to get me an answer, and wasn't sure anyone could answer it without knowing what city I live in, which obviously I wasn't going to give because I'm not even in the state. Called the general number for the Board of Animal. So this is how confusing this is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is big government at work. Called the general number for the Board of Animal Health and pressed 2 for poultry and got some lab. But the lab lady, her name's Allison, said absolutely no. The 30-day ban is not on person-to-person sales, just on group activities. So literally just swaps sales and fairs, etc., which makes more sense, she says. Not really, I think the group thing makes sense either, but it does a little. it should reduce biosecurity issues, right? But I don't think it'll really help commercial farms, which is what they should be worried about. Exactly, right? And as we're seeing, we're losing chickens all over the place. We can't find it in the stores. I do think that they could offer more help with biosecurity to backyard farmers if they really wanted to reduce illness, but I also don't think that's necessarily their goal. Anyway, now you know, and now I know because it was bothering me. So she goes on. The guy said he'd see if he could find anyone who could answer, and I was like, bro, your department is literally in charge of this. No, ma'am, I work in X department, and that is in Y department. How many more layers of government do we need? Just out of curiosity. When will you be happy, leftists? When will you be happy, normie cons? How many more layers of government do you think we really need? Everybody going, well, government does serve some, and I'm using government in the way I hate to use it, but government serves some good. It's some good. It does some good things. Look, literally, what good? Like, what good does it? Like, look at this. All right, well, you don't look at it because I'm not sharing it with you. He said, no, ma'am, I work in X department. That is in Y department, and I just do intake for dead birds. I just want this to sink in on for you. We have a person in the state of Minnesota who's getting paid to do intake on dead birds. That's his job. I want that job description. Guy had to be at least 40. He was full-on adult pulling the I just fill out this form and press enter routine. I ended up telling them I was just going to start selling my birds one by one to all the neighbors. So if they didn't want me to do that, they should track down someone who could answer pretty quick. So someone finally called me back from the other number, also from the USDA. Individual sales in a zone, which I guess is within 6 miles of a place with confirmed bird flu, is still not banned, but they do want you to get a permit. Imagine that. They want you to get a permit. So I'm not going to talk about that one anymore, just because it's just going to get on my nerves. So it's just ridiculous what they're putting people through. Right? So we're gonna go now to, this is going to be an irony of irony type story, and I just want to say out of the gate, everybody knows who watches my channel, who pays any attention to me at all, knows that I have no love loss. There is no love loss between me and Sheriff Kevin Torgerson, Olmsted County Sheriff, my former employer, the guy who fought like blue blazes to make sure that I had no job and that I would have no sort of income because he didn't like the positions I took. But I want to say something. He was recently invited to an event by the Center for the American Experiment, and along with the police chief of Rochester, Minnesota, and another person within the law enforcement leadership administration types here in Southeast Minnesota, and that to speak about the rising crime epidemic. And I use that word not necessarily unironically. He was invited to speak, and they were going to talk about how crime is rising in Rochester and Olmsted County, and it is, and it has been for quite some time. And it's going to continue to rise because Rochester is becoming a leftist mecca, and we know that anytime a leftist mecca arises, there will be more and more crime because they're soft on crime. Well, that event got canceled. So we're gonna take a look at that. So this event got canceled. It was supposed to be at the Rochester Golf and Country Club, and people got wind that this was going to take place, right? And they got really mad and decided they were going to walk all over the freedom of the Center for the American Experiment to have a conversation about crime in Southeast Minnesota, Olmsted County, Rochester in particular. And they worked very hard to get the event canceled. They made a bunch of phone calls. In the morning of the event, the day that the event was supposed to take place, the convention center for the Rochester Golf and Country Club backed out, and canceled last minute. All these people took took time off from work. They did all this other stuff so they could go and listen to these law enforcement experts. Y'all know how I feel about Torgerson. They ruined this event. And so the Center for the American Experiment is suing the convention center, the country club, and suing the person who orchestrated this cancellation. Now, I don't know how I necessarily feel about suing her, but I do think suing the golf and country club for breach of contract is a phenomenal tool. However, the owner, or not the owner, the person who orchestrated this, Erin Nystrom, is a member of the club, and she's upset because the Center for the American Experiment also is suing her, a club member who created a petition for interference with a contract. Nystrom said it's ironic that some group complaining about being silenced is trying to punish her for expressing her own views. No, Erin, that's not what's happening. There again, I don't know that I necessarily sue you, but I might orchestrate a boycott of the business that you own. I think it's Potbellies. Yeah, I think it's Potbellies. I could be wrong, but I know you own some sort of sandwich place in Rochester. There again, I might not be right that it's Potbellies, but the irony of this is that they don't like when they get found out. And I actually stand in this particular instance. I stand for Sheriff Torgerson on this. I believe he has a duty to explain to the people of his jurisdiction what he's going to do about rising crime. And I also want to point out just how ridiculous things are in the city of Rochester when a citizen of Rochester who could very easily be victimized as a business owner could very easily be victimized by these criminals, wants to silence a conversation about what we're going to do to end crime. And here's their presupposition is that if you're talking about crime, you're talking about a minority class. And so I'm going to say to you, Erin Nystrom, your whole reason for canceling this is because you hate cops. You hate cops. And you believe cops are all inherently racist. And if they're not white cops, you believe that they're sellouts and that they're targeting their own people. Their own people. And I have changed my point of view on law enforcement and people in law enforcement. I wouldn't say it's a 180, but it has walked back from what it was to where now no one gets the benefit of the doubt from me anymore, because I've been betrayed by enough people in the law enforcement community to tell you that I don't believe that most of them are in it for the good of the community. It's a fat paycheck for a lot of people. And the younger that people get who are joining the ranks of law enforcement, they're literally only doing it because it's money. They're not doing it out of a love for law enforcement. I hear it constantly. That being said, I don't believe they're all racist. I don't believe they're all bigoted. But that's what Erin's problem is. She believes they're all racist. She believes they're all bigoted. Now, she doesn't say that, but that was the gist of the cancellation. And by the way, I'm a who's who in the Rochester area. I'm a member of this country club, and if I tell you I don't want them here, I don't want them here. So I hope the Rochester Golf and Country Club gets their butts handed to them in court. And if you figure out what business Erin owns, and you happen to be a truly conservative, constitutionally minded individual, and you choose to start telling people not to do business with Erin Nystrom, more power to you. It's not cancellation. It's just the way the ball bounces, babe. That's how it is. You want to cancel you want these people to come out of pocket to pay your country club to have this event and then be out that money and out the resources and out the time. Fine. Great. But if you lose business, and I got news for you, the people doing business with you are the hardworking conservative people in the county of Olmsted and in the Rochester area. They're the ones doing business with you because the people you're defending because they're criminal, they're not going to come in there and do business at your joint because they ain't got the money for it. When you alienate the conservative base, you get what you get. And as the saying goes, go woke, go broke. So, and what I would like to talk about is being a another example of just how bad COOF was. We had all this money being poured out to people, right, across the country, but here in the Upper Midwest, money just coming out, just being poured out to all these poor people who had to stay home and lost their jobs. And lo and behold, what are we finding out? Shock of all shocks. We've got fraud. Can you imagine that? Just like so in St. Cloud, a grocery store owner will spend more than 2 years in prison and be required to pay back more than $4 million for his role. Now, this guy is never going to pay back $4 million, by the way. So his 2 years in prison, he's going to be scheming to figure out a way to get out of paying $4 million when we know he's not going to be able to pay it in the first place. But he did this. His role in scheming to exchange SNAP and COOF governmental benefits for personal expenses. Harid Noor Jabril, 60, has been sentenced to 30 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release in order to pay $4.1 million in restitution for wire fraud. Now, gee, I wonder where, let's see, Wired, wonder where that money went. Does anybody have a guess? Where do we think that money might have gone? Anybody that's still out there watching. Tomsky and Pinson, you guys were keeping me going. I don't know if you're still there. Anybody still there? But I wonder where that money may have gone. Because like Minnesota, especially the St. Cloud area, is not a hotbed of activism for a particular group of people who likes to send money to radical groups across the globe. According to court documents from 2009 through 2021, Jabril owned and operated Harmoud Meat and Grocery Market in St. Cloud. In 2009, he completed the application and agreement and signed the required certifications to participate in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. Right? So I just, like, here we've got everybody saying this over and over and over again. Like this, nobody's going to abuse this. These people are suffering. They couldn't possibly take advantage, right? No one's going to take advantage of all of this. People aren't going to take advantage of these unemployment benefits and extensions and all of that. No one's going to do that. But wait, we're not done. What do we find here? Shock of all shocks. Oops, that's not the one I wanted. North Iowa woman enters guilty plea for COOF unemployment fraud. What? No. Stephanie Mendenhall, 53, was convicted of 4 counts of theft of government funds and 1 count of money laundering conspiracy. First of all, I want to make it clear it's not government funds. That's not their funds. The government doesn't produce that. We produce that. They take it from us through the threat of force, and then they give it to people who don't deserve it. But here, she pled guilty. So, good for her for not wasting the taxpayers' dollars. At a plea hearing, Mendenhall admitted making false claims in the names of others and depositing the resulting proceeds into her bank account. Mendenhall received fraudulent unemployment benefits paid through the states of Maine, Michigan, Washington, and Illinois, including benefits related to COOF relief funds to which she was not entitled. Mendenhall received at least $35,985 in false unemployment benefits. Now, criminal is going to criminal, right? And if you make it easy for a criminal to criminal, they're going to criminal. However, imagine if some of this stuff wasn't in place in the first place and there wasn't a way for her to trick the system. I know it's silly. I hate to point out the obvious, but if those things weren't there, then maybe she wouldn't be able to do it in the first place. The more bureaucratic morass that there is, the easier it is to get over on the system. But we're not done with the COOF yet. Everybody keeps, we're going back to normal, whatever normal is, right? We're not done with COOF yet. Nope, not even close. Medicare enrollees to get free COOF tests at drugstores. Amid worries that the latest COOF variant could spark another rise, and let's just keep in mind this goes back to April 4th. This isn't 3 months ago. Do you hear this language? New COOF variant. Amid worries that the latest COOF variant could spark another rise in cases, Medicare announced Monday that millions of enrollees will finally have access to free over-the-counter COOF tests at drugstores. Now, I'm not going to go into this much more because it's not a real long story, but I want to point out that here's what we're dealing with, folks. They got to keep the pressure on, right? They've got to keep it going. We have to keep talking about this. It's got to go and go and go and go and go and go and go. Yeah, right, Judson. Oh, cool. I can get tested for an illness I've already had, right? Absolutely. The concern that I have is, what new variant? I thought we were over the other variants. Just the other day, the mayor of Rochester, Kim Norton, announced that she was happy to share a tweet from a doctor at Mayo who said, for the first time since March of 2020, he is happy to report there are no cases of the COOF in the ICU at the Mayo in the Mayo Clinic. Well, what new variant is this? Because this story goes back to Monday. So they're not done with us, folks. You got to remember, Alinsky said, when your enemy gets used to adjusting to combating your point of view on something, combating your propaganda, you come at them from a different direction to keep them off kilter. Sound familiar? People were getting tired of 2020. People were tired of dealing with the lockdowns. People were tired of dealing with the potential for mask dates and whatnot. George Floyd dies. Right? Okay, people were getting tired of that. Okay, we're done with the rioting now. We're done. Can we stop burning down neighborhoods? It's been months. Okay. Oh, a new variant. Oh, we got to shut down again. And that, happened. Oh, nope, worse. Now we're gonna. We have this. We have these jabs that we're gonna make mandatory for everybody. Ultimately, that's what it was. And it just on and on and on. Oh, and then it was January 6th, the terrible insurrection that almost destroyed the republic. It's always something new. Now it's Ukraine. And when people are tired of dealing with that, they're going to pop in this new variant. And now they've got this infrastructure in place where they can scare the old people and other people who are on Medicare and whatnot, and they can go in and they can get free tests. So they can go home and test themselves. Seriously? Pregnancy tests can't even hardly be accurate. And that's not even technically life or death. And I'm supposed to trust this thing? Right? Really? I'm supposed to trust that? But I do want to point out that we have some good news, and I wish that other states would take this on. The state of Iowa, the Iowa House has passed a bill that would require curriculums to be published for parents. Yes, this is what it's supposed to look like. There is no reason in the world this should even have to be a bill passed into law that says this. A parent should be able to walk into any school at any time and demand to see the full curriculum. And in light of this horrendous propaganda and misinformation campaign that's going on with the state of Florida and don't say gay, which it doesn't say, by the way. It just says that a certain age group of children from kindergarten to like third or fourth grade is not going to be indoctrinated with this new agenda. It doesn't tell people they can't say gay or anything like that, but that's part of the curriculum, and everybody's screaming and hollering that, all this talk, they're not groomers. Like, there are massive amounts of teachers in Florida that are quitting because they're being told that they can and cannot talk about in school when it comes to this stuff. If that's your response to this, is to quit, then you're part of the problem, right? Unavoidable. You're part of the problem. But Iowa's passed this, and the way it reads is the bill would require course syllabi and materials to be published on online student portals. A previous version of the bill would have required the material to be published 6 months in advance, but was removed. The bill also states that the policy shall include a process for the student's parent or guardian to request that the student not be provided with certain instructional materials, which is the right of the parent. The school district would also be required to make a comprehensive list of all books available to students in libraries available to parents by providing a link to the electronic catalog. The district would need to indicate the process for a parent to request reconsideration or removal of a book available in the library. If a district is in violation of any of the requirements, they could face fines between $500 and $5,000 if it isn't corrected within 2 weeks. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you hold government schools accountable. That's how you do it. That's the way it should be done. And I think more and more people, right, Judson, going back to the other story, they need to be terrified so they can be easily manipulated. Absolutely. We're gonna shift things here real quick. We're gonna go a little international, right? And I had somebody share a story with me. I was going to share, but I'm going to save it for my Tuesday night hosting of Veteran Nation on Right America Media. So if you're interested, whether you're a vet or not, whether you're an American or not, talking to you, Tomsky, look for the link. I'll share it on Tuesday evening. Right America Media. I co-host a show with my friend Mike Arthur called Veteran Nation. Mike's going to be gone, so I'm going to have a friend of mine who's going to be sitting in that second chair, and we're going to be talking about the story that this other friend of mine shared about a vet and the way he was treated. And then my friend's going to tell a little bit about his 20-year career with the Navy and how that's impacted him and some of his experiences. So this next story is an international story. We're going to talk about something that Germany has just announced this week. This one's going to really upset some of you. Made me very mad. German agency takes charge of subsidiary of Russia's Gazprom. So the feds in Germany stepped in and seized control of a Russian subsidiary in Germany. Took it away from them. That's it. They just took it away from them. In the midst of all of this, because Russia's saying, you guys are playing hardball, fine, we're going to start playing hardball. You don't get any more gas. Which I think they're perfectly justified in doing. The sanctions that are being leveled against Russia, there again, I don't agree with what Russia's doing in the Ukraine, per se. There again, as I said before, I don't like the loss of innocent lives. War is hell. But when you put sanctions in place and then you step in and you take away something that somebody else paid for, you just take it from them. No hearing, no exchange of money or anything. You just take it from them. That's going to provoke a person, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to make somebody mad. And when you're dealing with a sovereign nation like Russia and you just take something away from them when they're in the middle of fighting a war, how do you think they're going to respond to that? Do you think they're just going to go, oh my gosh, Germany stepped in and did? Like, haven't we learned enough about how the Germans do things? Just throwing this out here. Are we going to look at the Germans and decide that, wow, maybe we should take our cues from people who not once but twice have tried to dominate the world through evil and vindictive manners? This is okay. Americans who would have never trusted Germany after World War II are now applauding this, saying, oh, they have to protect themselves. Look, no, could be just another power play, ladies and gentlemen. Could be just another power play. And if you think that this is somehow going to end well in this situation, you're crazy. Russia's going to come and take back what was theirs. And who can blame them? Sorry. Well, here's another very enlightening story, folks. And this is why propaganda just is so important to understand. People are developing trauma-like symptoms as the coup wears on. This is from just a couple of days ago. In February of 2020, Julie Hagen picked up the phone to receive life-saving news. She had been on the list for kidney transplant, and to her relief, there was now finally a donor. But that reassurance was quickly overshadowed by the looming threat of the coup. I remember standing at my sink and thinking, what about this virus? Like, is this going to be a problem? She said. It was a question that would completely restructure the next 2 years of her life. Now, this is very important. While the surgery was successful and Hagen is now jabbed and boosted, she is still severely immunocompromised and has to take significant safety measures. I'm so nervous, like my heart rate is through the roof when I'm out for anything, she said. And I wonder if I'm ever able to be out safely again and be normal and go out to a store. Am I going to be feeling that forever? Now, the story goes on to tell more and more and more stories about people who are expressing this trauma. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is manufactured. Okay? This is a manufactured event. And I don't care like what your perspective is. Like if you believe this was an incredibly deadly disease and that we didn't take it seriously enough, fine. But when are you going to say enough is enough? When are you going to have had enough? And these are people, there again, please go read The Coddling of the American Mind. If you don't read anything else this year, read or listen to anything else this year, read that. The Coddling of the American Mind. We have been over and over and over again inundated with this absolute need to be made safe constantly. What these people are experiencing is not trauma. I know people are getting mad at me. How can you question whether or not they're experiencing trauma? Look, trauma is something that's tangible and real. And being in public and being afraid because your overlords, the oligarchs, have told you need to be afraid is not trauma. That's weakness. It's weak. Now, have some people gotten sick and died? Absolutely. And some of you know I've covered the story of Scott Quiner, who did get sick and he did die. And much of that was due to how he was treated medically by Mercy Hospital up in the Twin Cities. And I'm still hoping to have his wife on to talk about that at some point. But people there's this constant expectation of being treated with kid gloves, handled gently as if you're fragile. And the more that we do this, and you know, the old saying, not the old saying, but from a book, it's relatively new in the lexicon of literature in the world. You said that hard times build hard men build soft times build soft men, and soft men build hard times. And we've done that. We've coddled the American people. And we are now in the midst of seeing a generation, actually a couple of generations of incredibly soft people who are destroying this republic. They're destroying the world, really. And it's creating incredibly hard times. And it's going to raise up a group of incredibly hard men who are going to come out swinging. And so I look for that to some degree. I look forward to it. But at the same time, I'm also very concerned for just how bad it's going to have to be for people to start to take things seriously. And if being told that you're in danger if you don't go outside and wear a facial covering and you don't get 1,400 jabs, you know, you get the first one, and then, you know, what the chant that was going when I was covering the Mayo medical protest, 1 jab, 2 jab, 3 jabs, 4, you know, it's just like, when's it going to end? These people are going to be in a perpetual state of fear for the rest of their lives. They are going to be traumatized, but they're not being traumatized by the actual COOF pandemic. They're being traumatized by the propaganda of a complicit legacy media and who are bowing to the edicts and the dictates of the oligarchs. Judson, you're 100% correct. Safety culture is the danger. Absolutely. It is an absolute danger to the American people and really to the Western way of life. We're going to cover another story here. Minnesota. I know this probably, this is not nearly as entertaining as when I'm talking to other people, but I just really wanted to start doing this. Minnesotan student debt payment pause extended. So, in the midst of everybody demanding that Joseph Biden, Supreme Commissar, cancel all student debt and pay it off for people, we now have Minnesota pausing the student debt payment requirements. Now, they're going to get their way, ladies and gentlemen. All of these namby-pamby, limp-wristed, weak individuals are going to go into debt, take out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of loans on underwater basket weaving and women's cultural studies, and they're not going to be able to get jobs. They're going to allow them to pay these back, and they're going to demand that justice and equity be served, and that they get this not have to pay this back. So they're going to keep pausing this and pausing this and pausing this until somebody steps in and says, we're canceling all student debt. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I just really believe that's what this is about. If you look at this, loan payments were originally supposed to resume May 1st after being halted several times throughout the COVID pandemic, but have now been extended to August 31st, a decision that will affect many Minnesotans. We believe it will really help all the Minnesotans that are currently carrying federal student loan debt, Dennis Olson, Commissioner of the Minnesota Office of Higher Education. Amid rising inflation, Olson says it's easy to see why the payment should be delayed. Like, no, ladies and gentlemen, I don't get to do that. I don't get to do that. I'm struggling right now. I'm about to get angry. I'm struggling. And these yahoos are going into debt willingly. And they're canceling their debt for them. Basically, that they're holding this out to cancel their debt because inflation is going up. Like they don't have, most of these people don't have anything to lose. They could still go home to mom and dad. I don't have that option. Who's going to pause my debt? Who's going to go in and pause my payment for my house? Who's going to go in and pause my payment for my vehicle that I need so I can get to work so I can continue to freaking struggle? Who's going to do that? And I don't want anybody to do that. That's not how this country works. But it shouldn't be working for them. You want to pay, you want a career? Go get a trade. Become a plumber. Become an electrician. Become a carpenter. These people are making tons of money right now. But no, here in the United States, you're a nobody if you don't have a college degree. All that matters is getting that college degree. Our market is a glut of people with college degrees who can't get jobs in their career fields right now. Do you understand that? Thousands and thousands and thousands of people cannot pay their student debt because they cannot get jobs in their career field because nobody's interested in hiring them. They've got worthless degrees. That's all it is. They've got worthless degrees. And now they want somebody else to pay for the mistake that they made in going into debt to get this degree. Make yourself valuable. Go out, drop out of college, you morons. Go out and take a job that maybe you don't like. Take 2 jobs that you don't like. This kind of stuff pisses me off. Who's going to step in and take care of me? No one. And there's a whole plethora of reasons why that's not going to happen. And quite frankly, the position I'm in right now, although some people would like to say, well, you brought it on yourself, it's not me. I didn't do this. They tried to cancel me. And to some degree, it worked. But I'm not going to just cave in. This is ridiculous. And right, Tomsky College college degrees are toilet paper right now. Absolutely. 100% agree. Judson, are you saying that my master's degree in lesbian dance theory is worthless? No, it's not. You could probably apply it the way Tomsky just said here. So, food for thought, Judson. Yeah. So, next story. And how do I want to? How do I want to talk about this one? Because I want to parse this very carefully. And I'm not, I've been listening to Josh Slocum again quite a bit. I go through these phases where I have to get caught up on podcasts, and Josh is coming on the show in May. He's gracious enough to agree to come on, and we're going to be talking a lot about his journey. Tomsky, thank you. It's more than I'm just doing these for fun, but thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's great. Is there any hard questions you want to ask since you sent that? Ask me a hard question. And that was really kind of you. I know you love me. But yeah, so I got Josh Slocum coming on, and I forgot where I was. Oh, he talks an awful lot about parsing and nuance and whatnot. And I agree with him. I am not a nuance guy. When I tell you I'm struggling with how I want to say something, it's because I really want to make sure I'm saying it accurately, and then I'm saying it well, and that it's not just like off the top of my head and off the cuff. But considering I do 98% of everything that I do, whether I'm speaking in an event live, or I'm doing one of these live, or I'm doing a recorded video, 98% of what I do is extemporaneous. So sometimes you're going to have to watch me struggle with this, and because I want to say this with the right amount of caution and candor, and because it's incredibly important. The news has broke that the men in Michigan who were accused of plotting to kidnap and hold for ransom, or maybe even kill or blow up Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, were found not guilty. I believe it was yesterday. They were found not guilty. And they were found not guilty based on the preponderance of evidence that showed that the FBI entrapped them, ladies and gentlemen. I'm overwhelmed. I thought these men were done. I thought they were going to be hung out to dry, quite frankly. I thought it was over for them. Because what we've seen is here in the United States, there are still people in solitary confinement on misdemeanor and gross misdemeanor charges who participated in the events of January 6th of 2021. We're over a year from them taking part in that. And I thought these men were done. And yet here we sit. A jury in Michigan saw through this, set these men free, much like Kyle Rittenhouse was set free. Set these men free and made it very clear that it was a result of the conniving of the feds. I don't trust the feds, ladies and gentlemen. I don't trust the state. I don't trust the county. I don't trust the city. I don't trust local. Don't trust anyone anymore in positions. And I'm not saying you can't love your neighbor who works for the feds or the state or whatever. What I'm saying is they do not have your best interest at heart. And this jury saw through that and let these men go. You're right. Judson says the Justice Department is corrupt to the core. Agreed, 100%. There should be no FBI. There should be no federal law enforcement. There should be no DEA. There should be no BATF. And just as an aside, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Why is it that one bureau gets to play with all of the fun stuff and be in charge of it? Because I'll tell you what, a really fun day here in the United States is going out, handling alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. What? Are you kidding me? Why do they get to be in charge of all the really fun stuff? And I don't smoke, but come on, that's a blast right there. No pun intended. It's incredibly important for us to say this. You don't trust anybody. You do not trust, especially the feds or anybody in an investigatory position with any government entity at all, period. You don't trust them. You get pulled over, license and registration. Yes, officer, no, officer. Don't answer questions, and you don't volunteer information. I don't care how friendly they are. These men got taken in. And admittedly, they're from the reports, these guys are all dumber than a box of rocks. Like, they may not have the sense that God gave a gnat between them, which almost makes this worse. They targeted these people because they were easy targets, and they can make them look like radicals. They can make them look like morons because, quite frankly, from the sound of it, they were easily targeted morons. That, if anybody else did that, that would be a crime. A crime. Taking advantage of a vulnerable adult. I wasn't planning on going this long today, so here I sit. If you haven't had a chance, check out my live stream with Buck Johnson from last night. This guy is phenomenal. He went from being a full-on libertarian to being a post-libertarian conservative, and he's sharp. His program Counterflow is amazing. I'm gonna kind of start to wrap this up. Judson, the ATF should also regulate strippers. There's an idea there. No, we should just do away with the ATF, all these federal agencies. Let the strippers regulate themselves. Probably shouldn't have done that. Somebody's going to clip that out and use it against me. Yeah, anyway. If you haven't yet, I'm asking, share this around, and then please buy coffee. Buy a shot glass. Not for me. I mean, I'll take it, but I really want to hit this a minimum of $300 for the 22-0 guys. So too many a day. 22. One is too many. And I'll keep saying this over and over and over again. 22 is criminal negligence on the part of the BAT, or part of the VA, on the part of the feds. We need to do something. We have to step in, and we have to make a difference. So you can message me, TC Pearson on Facebook. You can message me on, see ya, Judson. Thanks for stopping in. You can message me on Twitter at Robe Regiment, and you can also send me an email at tcpearson@protonmail.com. tcpearson@protonmail.com. And once again, as always, until next time, sic semper tyrannis.
We are going for liftoff in T-30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
And systems
Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.